everyone. In the last class, we are talking about the indemnity and the guarantee and about the sureties. And regarding the concept of the sureties, we have understood till the concept of the co-sureties and how the rights of the co-sureties has been affected and how a co-surety actually works. We have already discussed on that. Okay. So coming to the next point, we are going to discuss about the liable of a co-sureties. Okay, when we are understanding that when in a contract of the indemnity or under the contract of the guarantee, where there is the presence of more than one sureties in a contract, then what happens in that circumstances? For example, in the according to section 146, let's take an example that there is a contract of the guarantee. For example, you have taken the debt amount of 5,000 rupees from B. Okay. So what happens when you have taken the debt from B? So at that specific circumstances, B you have to pay the debt to B, the amount of 5,000 of the rupees. Okay. So as your surety, C and D has been appointed as the surety of yours. Okay. So here there is not the presence of the one surety, but the presence of the two sureties for a specific contract. इसी को हिंदी में समझते हैं. सिचुएशन ऐसा है कि आपने किसी से एक स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट का लोन लिया है. यू हैव टेकन द डेप्ट. डेप्ट मतलब जैसे कि आप किसी से पैसा उधार लेना को डेप्ट बोलते हैं. ओके. सो यू हैव टेकन द डेप्ट अमाउंट अप टू द फॉर एग्जांपल द अमाउंट इज अप टू द 5,000 ऑफ द रुपीज. आपने किसी से 5,000 रुपया का लोन ले रखा है. ओके. सो यू हैव टेकन द लोन. फाइन. सो आगे क्या होता है? when you are going to do the repayment of the loan or the debt, you have two sureties at your end. आपके तरफ से एक नहीं, दो दो sureties है. कौन है? C and D. समझ में आ गया? तो ये जो दोनों sureties आपका है C and D, so यहाँ पे here is the situation that for your debt, the two sureties C and D have to do the repayment of the contract. Yes or no? Okay. So the amount कितना है यहाँ पे? 5,000. So यहाँ पे अगर एक सिक्योरिटी के जगह दो दो सिक्योरिटी है एंड आपका जो सिक्योरिटी डेप्ट का अमाउंट है वो कितना है? 5,000 of the rupees. So what will happen in this circumstances? In this circumstances, the amount of the security, it will be divided in two parts. For example, जैसे कि आपका अगर 5,000 रुपया का आपको डेप्ट का रिपेमेंट करना है और आपको 5,000 रुपीज का जो डेप्ट है उसी को रिपेमेंट कौन कौन करेंगे? सी और डी दोनों मिलके करेंगे, है ना? तो अगर सी एंड डी दोनों इस डेप्ट का रिपेमेंट मिलके करने को primarily considered as the responsibility of the surety, that the debt amount will be equally divided. Equally divided का क्या मतलब होता है? जैसे कि अगर surety का जो अमाउंट है वो है 5,000 रुपया, तो 5,000 रुपीज विल बी डिवाइडेड इक्वली इन बिटवीन सी एंड डी. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? सी पेमेंट करेगा 5,000 रुपीज, डी पेमेंट करेगा 5,000 ऑफ द रुपीज. समझ में आ रहा है? तो सी एंड डी दे विल बी इक्वली पेइंग द अमाउंट ऑफ द 2,500 रुपीज ईच. 5,000 को अगर हम दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करते हैं तो कितना होता है? 2,500 ईच. ओके. तो वहां पे C will pay the amount of the surety up to 2,500 of the rupees and D will pay the amount up to 2,500 rupees. Okay. So it is the duty of the sureties to pay equally for the debt. डेप्ट का अमाउंट का जो रिपेमेंट करना होता है वो सी और डी को मिलके जॉइंटली करना पड़ेगा. गॉट इट? सो according to section 146, it is written that co-surety is liable to contribute equally where two or more persons are co-sureties for the same debt or duty, either jointly or severally, whether under the same or different contracts, whether with or without the knowledge of the each other, the co-sureties, in the absence of any contract to the contrary, is liable as between themselves to pay each an equal share of the whole debt or that part of it which remains unpaid by the principal debtor. Got it? Okay. So, coming to the next point, liability of the co-surety is bound in different sums. It is explained under section 147. So, what is explained over here? That if the co-sureties are bound with the different sums and it is fixed with the previous terms and conditions of the contract, then in that circumstances, co-sureties who are bound in different sums are liable to pay equally as far as the limits of their respective obligations permit. That means if there is the co-surety in a contract, the co-surety are C and D. Okay. So in the contract of the co-surety, they are bound to pay the amount of 5,000 rupees altogether. Okay. So in that specific contract, where C is, according to the terms and conditions of the contract, C is liable to pay the amount of 2,000 rupees and D is liable to pay the amount of 3,000 rupees. Okay. So this is the conditions of the contract of the surety which has already been fixed. But where we have discussed, where there is not any such condition has been decided before ahead, जहां पे ऐसा कंडीशंस कुछ पहले से डिसाइड ना हुआ हो, वहां पे क्या होता है, इक्वली डिवाइड होता है. अगर 6,000 रुपया है तो आप आधा दोगे, मैं आधा दूंगा. ऐसा होता है श्योरिटी का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ द कंडीशंस. ओके. बट अगर ऐसा सिचुएशन है जहां पे co-sureties आर बाउंड इन डिफरेंट सम्स, उनके लिए एक स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट ऑफ द सम पहले से फिक्स किया गया है कि सी को इतना देना पड़ेगा, डी को इतना देना पड़ेगा. इट हैज बीन ऑलरेडी प्राइमरीली डिसाइडेड, इट हैज बीन ऑलरेडी primarily fixed. So in that circumstances, co-sureties who are bound in different sums are liable to pay equally as far as the limits of their respective obligations permit. Okay. If they are having the respective obligations, they have to follow it. If they are not bound by any respective obligations, the whole obligations of the surety amount will be equally divided. Okay. So for example, the amount of the repayment, it was 5,000 of the rupees. Okay. So according to the terms and conditions of the contract, it has been primarily decided that C is liable to pay the amount of 2,000 rupees and D is liable to pay the amount of 3,000 rupees. So this is exactly what is going to happen. C will pay the amount of 2,000 and D will pay the amount of 3,000 only. Got it? So here we have completed the chapter 8 of the Indian Contract Act. Then we are moving to the next chapter, agency, that is the chapter 10. The chapter 9 is bailment, that bailment and the bailer concept. We are going to discuss it in the next class. But before proceeding to chapter 9, I think we should go ahead with the chapter 10 because that is also an important chapter over here. So coming to the chapter 10, that speaks about the agency. Okay. So I might ask you the primary question, what do you understand by agency? अगर मैं एजेंसी के बात बोलूं तो आपको क्या समझ में आता है? ओके. ए एजेंट इज द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव. अगर मैं अपने काम के लिए किसी को अपॉइंट करती हूं, दैट पर्सन इज माई एजेंट. And that concept is called as the concept of the agency. Got it? Okay. So section 182 of the Indian Contract Act, it has defined the concept of the agent and the concept of the principal. Okay, let's understand it in a detailed manner. An agent is a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealings with the third person. The person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. Okay. So let's understand the concept of the agent and the principal. Okay. So an agent is a person who is employed to do any act for another. For example, I have been employed or I have been appointed by you to do certain kind of activity. Okay. An agent is a person employed to do any act for another. अगर किसी को किसी दूसरे का काम के लिए अपॉइंट किया जाता है to do certain kind of the activity, that person is called an agent. अगर मेरे को अपॉइंट किया जाता है on behalf of you to do a certain kind of duty. Okay, for example, आपको किसी के पास जाना है, आप यू हैव टेकन एक डील, आपको उसी जगह जाके आपको आपका जो डील है आपको डील के ऊपर काम करना है, बट ड्यू टू सर्टन सर्कमस्टांसेस यू आर अनएबल टू गो देयर, आप वहां पे नहीं जा सकते, आपको दिक्कत है क्योंकि यू आर फेसिंग ए लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज, सो यू आर अनएबल टू मूव देयर. सो व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, यू आर अपॉइंटिंग मी as the agent of yours. So what is the situation over here? देखिए, आपको जाना था, यू आर द प्रिंसिपल, है ना, यू हैव टेकन द डील, तो डील डील किसको करना चाहिए, आपको करना चाहिए, बट आपने यहाँ पे किया क्या, नहीं किया. क्यों नहीं किया? बिकॉज यू आर बाउंड बाय सर्टन अदर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, आपको और कुछ काम है जिसके वजह से आप नहीं जा सकते. सो व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, यू आर अपॉइंटिंग मी एज योर एजेंट, आप मेरे को आपके एजेंट के हिसाब से अपॉइंट कर रहे हो. यू आर टेलिंग मी कि देखो यहाँ पे मेरे को मैं जाने वाला था बट मैं नहीं जा पा रही हूँ, सो यू हैव टू गो ऑन माई प्लेस, यू आर अपॉइंटिंग मी एज योर एजेंट. सो आप वहां पे जाके आपका जितना सारा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज है, आपका जितना सारा ड्यूटीज है, आपको जो जो काम करना था वो काम आप नहीं करेंगे, करेंगे कौन, मैं करूंगी. आई विल डू द वर्क फॉर यू. So I am hereby the agent of yours. Got it? According to section 182, whenever we are considering the concept of the agent and the principal is being defined, we need to understand that an agent is a person who is employed to do any act for another. Agent is a person who is employed or who is appointed by someone टू डू एनी एक्ट ऑफ अनदर, जिसी को दूसरा किसी का काम करने के लिए अपॉइंट किया जाता है, और टू रिप्रेजेंट अनदर इन डीलिंग्स विद द थर्ड पर्सन. और एंड द एजेंट इज ए पर्सन हु इज अपॉइंटेड टू रिप्रेजेंट अनदर इन डीलिंग्स विद द थर्ड पर्सन. तीसरा अगर कोई इंसान है, उसी के साथ अगर किसी भी तरह का डील हो रहा है, जिसी को जो डील प्रिंसिपल खुद करने वाला है, अगर वो खुद करने के लिए इनकापेबल है या एब्सेंट है, तो उसी के जगह अगर वो किसी को अपॉइंट करता है ऑन हिज बिहाफ और ऑन हर बिहाफ टू कंप्लीट दैट टास्क or to complete his duty, that person is called the agent. The person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. Okay? जिसके लिए ये एक्ट किया जाता है, the person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. The principal is the person for whom such act is done or who is so represented. Got it? Then comes section 183. It speaks about who may employ agent. That means who can employ the agent over here. Okay? Any person who is of the age of majority according to the law, or which he is the subject, or who is of the sound mind may employ an agent. What does it mean? Any person, okay, so we have understood the concept of the agent as a principle. The agent is a person who is employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealings with the third person. Got it? And the person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. एजेंट जिसके लिए काम करता है या जिस इंसान ने एजेंट को ऑन हिज बिहाफ अपॉइंट करता है उसको हम बोलते हैं. इट स्पीक्स अबाउट द agent that who may employ the agent. Okay, any person who is of the age of the majority according to the law to which he is subject and who is of sound mind may employ an agent. What does it mean? Any person who is of the age of the majority according to law. Okay, अगर कोई इंसान has the person has reached the age of the majority, उसी का जो age of the majority है he has reached up to that, and who is of his sound mind, that person may employ an agent. If the person is of the sound mind and the person has attended the age of the majority according to law, that person may employ an agent. So section 183 specifies or identifies the capability of the principal to appoint an agent. So what does it specify? That if a person is acting as a principal, then what makes the principal to appoint an agent in a valid point of view? So if I am telling you that I am going to appoint someone as my agent, then I must have the capability, the eligibility to appoint agent. Yes or no? Okay. Myself incapable for the is the legal applicability? The answer is no. So here the circumstances is very clear that if I am eligible or if I am capable to appoint an agent, then only I will appoint an agent. Got it? ମାମୁନି ତନେ ଟିକେ ଫ୍ୟାନ୍ ଟା ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦେଲୁ ମୁଁ ଉଠି ପାରିବିନି ଫ୍ୟାନ୍ ଟା ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦେ. Then yeah, so we're discussing who may employ the agent. So under section 183 we have understood that if a person has attained the age of the majority, the person is above the 18 years according to the law, and secondly the person is of the sound mind, then in that circumstances the person may employ an agent. Okay, clear? Then comes section 184. What does it indicate? 185. Consideration is not necessary. So under section 185 it is written that no consideration is necessary to create an agency. So what does it indicate? Under section 185 we need to understand that when an agency is created, that for example you have appointed me as your agent, it is not always mandatory that you have to give me certain consideration in return of the agency, or I have to give you certain consideration in return of the agency. No, that is not necessary. The agent might be a shareholder, might be the personal relative, might be created due to certain obligation or the personal liability. Got it? So when we are talking about the agency, then we need to understand that in the creation of the agency, the consideration is not always necessary. If I am appointing someone as my agent, as my representative, so it might be the deal that that person, for example, you are going to do a deal up to 30 lakh of the rupees. 30 लाख का एक बड़ा अमाउंट का डील आप किसी के साथ कर रहे हो, ओके, बट यू आर अनेबल टू गो देयर एंड डू योर ड्यूटी. आई एम योर रिलेटिव, मैं आपका रिश्तेदार हूँ. तो व्हाट डिड यू डू? आपको यहाँ पे लगा अरे मैं तो वहां पे जाके फिर वो सारा अटेंड करके उसको फिक्स करना मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाएगा. सो लेट्स डू वन थिंग. as my representative of project है, if Arya is working as my agent over there, then अगर वहां से मेरे को 20 लाख का प्रॉफिट होता है ना, then she will take the amount of 10 lakh and I will take the amount of 10 lakh. So this is the deal between you and me, that I am going to represent your project. I am going to be your agent in the specific project. And whatever the profit will arrive, I will take 50% and you will take 50%. That is also a valid agent. I am your daughter. मैं आपका representative हूँ. Or as a mother, you have certain unable or you are unable to travel to specific place. So what you are doing? You are appointing me, your own son or daughter, as the agent of yours. So your own relative is helping you out to handle that project. Is consideration necessary for there? The answer is no. अगर मेरे पापा कोई भी एजेंसी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, वो उनका कुछ काम कर रहे हैं and he needs agent, the son or daughter of the father has been appointed as the agent of father. पापा का जो बेटा और बेटी है, that person has been appointed as the agent of father. So is consideration necessary? The answer is no. So whenever we are creating an agency, the consideration might be present, might not be present. But we need to understand that for the creation of the agency, the consideration is always not necessary at all. Got it? Then comes section 186. It speaks about the agent's authority may be expressed or implied. The authority of an agent may be expressed or implied. So whenever the agent is being authorized by the principal, the authority of the agent, it might be expressed in nature or might be implied in nature. Expressed means it is expressed in pen and paper, in the written documentation, in the written drafting format. But whenever we are talking about the implied format, it means something which is implemented, which is implied, which is indicated by the happening of certain activities. Got it? So under section 186, we are talking about the agent's authority that may be expressed or implied in nature. The authority of the agent that might be written in the documentation form, that might be done in the drafting form, or that might be done through the specific activity which is called the implied activity in nature. Got it? Under section 187, it has been explained about the definitions of express and implied authority. Agent का जो हम express and implied authority का बात कर रहे थे, how it actually works, we are going to understand it under section 187. An authority is spoken or written. An authority is said to be implied when it is to be inferred from the circumstances of the case and things spoken or written, or the ordinary course of dealing may be accounted circumstances of the case. Okay. So let's understand it once again. An authority is said to be expressed when it is given by the words spoken or written. Okay. Express means किसी भी चीज को expressly बताना either by the words or by the written format. अगर for example the agency, if whenever we're talking about the agency is expressed, that means for example I am appointing you as my agent. Okay. So what is happening that uh, I have not informed anyone about this. Whatever is my business deals and everything, you have been working as my agent. So wherever you are going, people are asking you that who are you? The deal was with Arya ma'am, and what you are doing here? Then you are going and you are telling them, you are just showing them the written document where you have been appointed as the agent, and you are showing them the paper that see, here is the proof, here is the document which indicates that I am the representative of Arya ma'am. Or you are just telling them that see, I am here on behalf of Arya ma'am and I am her agent over here and I am here to do the task. Okay. So this is called the express form of the authority. Okay. An authority is said to be expressed when it is given by words spoken or written. When we have spoken something, we have told something by our words, or we have written something through the pen and paper, through the documentation, through the draft, that is called the definition of express authority, where the authority is being expressed, is being spoken by the words, or is being written by the documents or the draft. So what is the implied authority? An authority is said to be implied when it is to be inferred from the circumstances of the case and things spoken or written or the ordinary course of dealing may accounted circumstances of the case. What does it mean? An authority is called to be implied when it is to be inferred from the circumstances of the case, when the agency is inferred from the circumstances of the case. Okay. Or the ordinary course of dealing may be accounted for the case. For example, there is a let's take an example of this. Okay. I am the owner of a shop. Okay. For example, I am owner of a shop. Okay. So what happens that I am having a business with the company of A. Okay. A का कंपनी के साथ मेरा एक बिजनेस है जो कि मैं हमेशा कंटिन्यू करती रहती हूँ. मैं आई डू हैव द बिजनेस मीटिंग्स, बिजनेस डील्स एंड एवरीथिंग. ओके. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल I was supposed to attend a meeting for an emergency purpose. Okay. So when I was invited to the meeting, then I told to the organizer that I might be absent in the meeting, and if I am unable to join, my agent will join over there. Okay. So what happened? You went at my place when you joined when you went to the meeting place. I have given you a T-shirt to wear according to my company name, according to my business name, which represents, which is the symbol that you are my agent. Okay. So it was understood by the people. You went there, you sat there, you did your activities, you represented me. So no one asked you that on whose behalf you are coming or what you are doing here or why you are speaking in the meeting. No one asked you nothing. You just went there, you did your duty, you showed the document and you came back. Okay. So here this is called the implied agency. जहाँ पे your activity has proved your agency. No one asked over you that are you the agent of Arya ma'am? No, none of them asked you for this. But yes, your activity to go there, to sit in the meeting, to deliver your speech, to do the activity, and all these things you did on behalf of me. That is called the implied agency. Got it? Dusra, let me give you an example of another example. Yeah. A owns a shop at a specific place, okay, and visiting that shop occasionally, okay. The shop is managed by the me, B, and he is the habit of ordering goods from C in the name of A for the purpose of the shop, okay, and it is happening with A's knowledge. So in these circumstances, if B has the implied authority from order goods from C, then it will be considered that it has been done with the consent of the A for the purposes of the sub. Okay. Let me explain it in a detailed manner. मान लो मेरा ओडिशा में एक शॉप है. आई एम हैविंग ए शॉप इन ओडिशा. Okay, a very big shop in Odisha. But I'm living at Dubai. I'm not living at Odisha, I'm living at Dubai. So what happens? I travel sometimes from Dubai to Odisha to visit my shop to check it out that is everything of the shop is going fine or not. So what I did, I have appointed someone, that person is A, to take care of my shop. Okay. So I have appointed whom? For example, I have appointed B to take care of the shop. So who is the caretaker of the shop? B. He is handling all the deals of the shop, all the business of the shop, okay? And as the owner of the shop, I usually don't come always to visit the shop, but yes, I rarely come to handle the things to see how the business is going, what is the profit score, what is the business score, and I come in a once in a month and check everything and then go away to the Dubai again. So in between, okay, uh, like when there is a business is going on, there is a shop of mine for the delivery of certain kind of the goods. That goods must be brought from somewhere. अगर सामान कहीं से नहीं खरीदा जाएगा तो उसको बेचेंगे कैसे? वो सामान को तो कहीं से लाना पड़ेगा ना. Take an example. She is having another shop of the same thing. जहां से ये सारे चीजों का जो ओरिजिनल प्रोडक्ट है, ओरिजिनल गोडाउन है, वहां से कलेक्ट किया जाता है. So what B does, B usually brings the goods from the shop of the C and sells over here. B क्या करता है? C से सारा सामान खरीद के लाता है इन ए चीप प्राइस एंड उसी को वो ए का शॉप में, मतलब मेरा जो शॉप है जहाँ पे बी काम कर रहा है, वहां पे एक नॉर्मल प्राइस से बेच रहा है. ओके. सो हु द ओनर में? दैट मीन्स आई एम ए, I am the owner of. Who is my agent? B. Who is handling all the issues and the matters of the shop on my behalf, on my absence? Got it? तो B यहाँ पे शॉप के रिगार्डिंग जो भी सामान का डिलीवरी कर रहा है, जो भी सामान खरीद रहा है, वो कहाँ से खरीद रहा है? सी का दुकान से. कौन सा दुकान से? सी का दुकान से खरीद रहा है. समझ में आ गया? बट ऑल द डील्स हैज बीन डन ऑन माय नेम, दैट मीन्स एज नेम. ओके. तो जितना भी सामान, जितना उसका पेमेंट किसको करना है? ओनर को. ओनर को पैसा देना है सारा चीज का. बी ने सारा सामान खरीदा है, वो नाम हर जगह पुट कर देता है. एंड ए का अकाउंट से हमेशा हर एक चीज का पेमेंट क्रेडिट होता जाता रहता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल इस महीने 10 लाख का सामान बेचा गया है, 10 उसी के लिए 5 लाख का सामान खरीदा गया है। तो ये जो 5 लाख का जो क्रेडिट होगा वो किसके अकाउंट से होगा? ए का अकाउंट से होगा। हर महीने बी जितना भी सामान खरीदता है सी से, वो सारा सामान का जो हिसाब है उसको वो किसके अकाउंट पे जाता है? ए के अकाउंट पे जाता है। और पेमेंट किसको करना पड़ता है? ए को पेमेंट करना पड़ता है। सो हियर दिस एक्टिविटी ऑफ बी comes under the implied authority from A, जहां पे ए ने बी को परमिशन दे के रखा है कि हाँ ये सारा चीज मेरे कंसेंट पे हो रहा है, तुम मेरे अकाउंट से पैसा विड्रॉ करके बिजनेस का सामान खरीद सकते हो। यू आर यूजिंग माई डेबिट कार्ड टू ब्रिंग द थिंग्स, you are putting the bill at my name. Yes, I am okay with this because I am the owner of the business. And here, as my agent, whatever activity you are doing, I am equally responsible for this and I am trusting your activity. And that is why you can do the transactions on my behalf or on my name. So here B has an implied authority from A to order goods from C in the name of A for the purpose of the shop. So यहाँ पे क्या बोला गया है? That B has the implied authority. B का यहाँ पे implied authority है किस चीज का? From A to order goods from C. C से goods और the सामान ऑर्डर करने का अथॉरिटी है। इन द नेम ऑफ हुम? इन द नेम ऑफ द ए फॉर द पर्पजेस ऑफ द शॉप। सो यूजुअली यहाँ पे जो हम अथॉरिटी का बात कर रहे थे, वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दैट द अथॉरिटी इज ऑफ टू टाइप्स। The first is it is the it is first one is the spoken authority or expressed authority, and the second one is the implied authority. Expressed authority it can be of two types. It might be spoken or written, and the implied authority is being implemented, is being implied, is being presented through the activities itself. Clear? So section 188 onwards we are going to discuss in the next class. We can wrap the class over here, guys. This is all for today. See you all in the next class. Bye bye.